Hey everyone, I'm Chad. Thanks for coming back to Cord Wargaming. Today we have a match between Mitch and Chris. Mitch brought his Deathwing and Chris brought the Genestealer Cults. First time on the channel for those, so I'm pretty stoked. But while you were here, if you could hit that subscribe button, it's over here in the corner somewhere, I'd appreciate that. And stick around to the end. The guys have a really nice sit and chat. They go over the results of the game, their army overview, they kind of dig into what they do a little different on list building and things like that. And now, stay around for the show, folks. Here we go. Rolling to see what scenario we're doing. So I go ahead and throw the first one. And somebody toss the second one.
And so, the strike force mission we will be committing to ourselves today is Abandoned Sanctuaries. From the Warzone Nachmund Grand Tournament chapter approved.
Rolling to see what's dropping first.
Do you want to be attacker or defender?
I shall be defender. We find Abandoned Sanctuaries on page 44 of the Warzone Nachmund Grand Tournament book. The mission briefing. Between two armies lies a ruined battlescape in which there are numerous abandoned sanctuaries, once places of religious worship. Now they lie broken and ruined. The bodies of the priests and acolytes who tended them still rot within. Such ruination must be avenged, and such damage must be restored. But your foe will not allow this, knowing that the war for the soul is equally as vital in the ongoing conflict as the war for the lands. Mission rules. No Man's Land. If a unit has a pre-battle rule that allows it to be set up anywhere on the battlefield, that unit cannot be set up in No Man's Land. If a unit has a rule that allows it to make a move before the turn begins, it cannot end its move in No Man's Land. If any rule is used to redeploy a unit, that rule cannot be used to set that unit up in No Man's Land. Primary objective, take and hold. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 4 victory points for each of the following conditions they satisfy, for a maximum of 12 victory points. They control 1 objective marker or more. They control 2 objective markers or more. They control more objective markers than their opponent controls. This primary objective cannot be scored in the first battle round. In the 5th battle round, the player who has the second turn does not score any victory points at the end of their command phase. Instead, at the end of their turn, they score 4 victory points for each of the above conditions they satisfy, to a maximum of 12 victory points. The secondary objective is secure the Sanctuaries. It is a progressive and endgame objective. At the end of each player's turn, the players whose turn it is scores 2 victory points if they satisfy at least one of the following conditions. They control an objective marker in the center of the battlefield. They destroyed at least one enemy unit that was within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield at the start of their turn. At the end of the battle, whichever player controls the objective marker in the center of the battlefield scores 5 victory points. I'm back with 1,995 points of Deathwing Terminators with 4 assassins coming to play. So we're going to start down over here. Sword Squad combined, because I ran them as a 10-man because I couldn't bring 6 in the Vanguard detachment. So I combat squatted my squad of 10 into Sword Squad. Behind them, they are all WYSIWYGs save for this lovely man here. He has plasma instead of an assault cannon. We have my Chief Apothecary, Ravenwing Apothecary, on his bike with his plasma talons. Under the oil platform here, we have my bodyguard squad equipped with storm shields and thunder hammers. We have the Calexis Assassin, my Interrogator Chaplain Orbitus, with my Warlord. He has his, and I forgot to mention this earlier to my opponent, he has the Relic for his Cruzarium Aria, for his bonk stick, for his Royal Bonk Stick, and he is the Chief of, he is the Chief Chaplain, the Wise Orator, and then a Deathwing Apothecary. He's got nothing special, what he is what he is. Hammer Squad back in downtown with their 2 Cyclone missile launchers to hold my main objective point. And hiding back here because I couldn't find a better spot to put them, To get him close is the rest of Sword Squad.
Don't forget the dude on the perch.
And the second of the assassins, the Vindicare assassin, perched high, hiding in the sun, preparing to strike down against the Emperor's enemies. And the 3 units in reserve are the Calidus assassin, the Eversor assassin, and my Assault Terminator squad. And they are as they are. They are WYSIWYG. And that completes the 1,995 points of my Dreadwing Terminator list. The secondaries that I will be taking are Stubborn Defiance, which is a Dark Angels specific, which as long as I take and hold 1 point and continuously choose that point each turn, it generates me victory points. I'm then taking Assassinate as my secondary because my opponent is bringing a plethora and a wide variety of characters for me to choose from. And lastly, I am taking Grind Them Down. I am confident that I can hopefully put down more units in a turn than he can of me, because otherwise that's going to be very, very bad for me. I am starting off at 7 command points, and that's because the relics and the warlord traits I've added to the apothecary, and then the 3 command points I had to burn to bring the vanguard detachment of the assassins, the eradication squad, and 400 points is just in the assassins alone. So 400 points and 3 command points to bring the Emperor's finest assassins.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm here today with my Genestealer Cult army, arrayed against the forces of the Deathwing. My army is the Twisted Helix. We have several units here, all cloaked in shadow of various forms. We are starting off with, we have a unit of neophytes here with a couple of mining lasers and grenade launchers, who will be showing up on the board right away. We have another unit of neophytes equipped the same way, a couple of mining lasers and grenade launchers. And then we have a larger unit of 15 neophytes here, all with shotguns, a couple of seismic cannons, flamers, and a cult icon. Moving on to the other half of our troop selections, the Acolytes. I've got a few squads. 1 squad of 10. We've got a couple of hand flamers and rock saws equipped, and they are hiding in cult ambush. The other unit of 10 has 3 rock drills and a cult icon as well, also hiding in ambush. Finally, we have a unit of 6 with 4 demolition charges, also hiding in ambush. Back here we have, of course, the Pure Strain Genestealers, a unit of 10, which will be deploying on the board. I've given them the upgrade for a free movement at the start of my turn, which will fortunately allow me to get around one of the restrictions on today's mission. Then I have a unit of 8 Aberrants, which are all loaded up in our Goliath truck back here. Riding along with them is our Abominant character and our Acolyte Akenwad characters, so they are all inside the truck. For the rest of our characters, we have our Patriarch, who has the Elixir of the Prime Specimen and Preternatural Speed Warlord trait, and he is deploying in Cult Ambush. We'll be dropping on the board later. We have our Sanctus Assassin, who I've spent command points to upgrade his Sanctus rifle to the Gift from Beyond, which is just an extra bit of damage and range to his sniper rifle. He will be deploying on the table. We have our Nexus, who has gotten my other relic upgrade that I spent command points on, the Cranial Inlay, giving us some command point regeneration every time I use a stratagem, potentially. The Biophagus here will be in Cult Ambush, deploying onto the table later in the turn. And our Magus back here will be on the board alongside the Primus. None of those have any special upgrades. I did forget to mention that my Patriarch also has a familiar with him to help him with casting his powers. We have a unit of Adelan Jackals with a Wolf Quad, equipped with a Incinerator, Heavy Flamer, and they will be deploying on the board. And as mentioned, we do have our Goliath truck, just with its stock autocannons, no demo charges, that will be deploying on the board with its occupants.
And what about secondaries?
Secondaries I am bringing today are going to be Psychic Interrogation to try and get a psychic action off when I have a psyker within 24 inches of one of his characters. I'm bringing a Genestealer Cult specific one, Brood Swarm, which will be gaining me points for each condition I achieve of having more models in either my deployment zone, the middle of the board, or his own deployment zone at the end of each of my turns. Lastly, I'm taking Retrieve Nachman Data, so we're going to try out the new version of that from the new GT mission pack. Kind of span across. So as you can see, the forces that are going on the table are currently hidden in their ambush markers. So we'll just give you a quick shot of where those are hiding at. Got a couple over on this side, a couple more hiding in the buildings here, or just on the outside of them, and then down the other side of the board, just a few more. So we will see what those turn out to be when I've decided.
There's a total of 9, you said?
Yes. Outside. Do you want me to roll that?
Roll again.
Okay. 2.
And I shall be taking first turn.
Alright, here we go. Deathwing, turn 1.
So, before the first battle round starts, I have taken an upgrade on one of the neophyte units with mining lasers. Basically, lets me, rather than deploying them from their ambush marker, I can put them into strategic reserves for free, and when they come onto the board, I can act as though it is one battle round earlier than it actually is. And so the icon the token I picked up was in here. There's no longer a unit hiding there. So at the end of the Deathwing turn 1 movement phase, I have to start revealing my cult ambush tokens. I've started up here with the Sanctus Assassin, who has appeared from the shadows. Following that, not visible, but hiding behind a building back here, my Nexus strategist will be hiding in the ruin there as well. Or not quite in the ruin, rather. And we will then have the Magus pop up inside the same ruin as the Sanctus on a lower level. Hopefully out of sight to anyone who might want to shoot at him. We are having the of neophytes come in on one of the icons here. Goliath Rock Truck appearing. I think I'm actually going to have it come out of this token here. The Edelin Bikers. Behind the, actually, it will be right here, next to the oil platform. And lastly, we have the Pure Strain Genestealers. And these guys do have an upgrade, which would allow me to make a normal move with them as soon as they appear. But I am not going to be rushing into charge range here just yet, I don't think. So instead they'll just be hanging out inside the oil rig here.
But that's where the crumpet is.
There will be plenty of crumping, I'm sure. For now, we bide our time and wait.
I don't know, you seem a little impatient to me. You popped on and said, surprise!
Alright, that out of the way, I can clear out my deployment zone dice, and we can continue on with Deathwing turn.
Ends turn 1 of Deathwing shooting. Our enemy finally appeared, and we're going to start down over here with Sword Squad. They fired their whole entire being into Jackal Squad. They killed 2 of them. Not doing much. Down here with Hammer Squad, they fired their Cyclone missile launchers, because nothing else was in range of their bolters, into the remainder of the Jackal Squad, wiping the squad. Both the Apothecary and the Interrogator Chaplain and the Ravenwing Apothecary fired into the Neophytes, killing a good deal of them, but not making them succumb to morale as they passed with a miraculous one. The Vindicare Assassin did a couple mortal wounds on the boy down on the character that's sitting there with the sword and the pistol.
Is that this guy here?
No, he was sadly unable to engage in a friendly sniper duel because of shenanigans. this squad over here this squad fired into his character hiding into the ruins, doing 2 damage. They had the plasma cannon fired into the heavy transport, only dealing a moderate amount of wounds. 2 of them. And that is turn 1. Dreadwing.
Alright, here we go. Genestealer Cult, turn 1.
Alright, we're done with Genestealer Cult turn 1. So after getting some decent shooting in on me, wiping my bikes, I decided to strike back. We started out by having the neophytes here move out to try and provide some supporting fire, as well as the truck here. They're not on the table anymore, but the Genestealers rushed out towards the squad on the flank here that was holding that midfield objective. In my psychic phase, my Magus provided them with a nice little attack boost with Might from Beyond. And in the shooting phase, Sanctus took some cheeky shots at the Vindicare sniper up there, successfully hitting and causing a mortal wound. However, the Vindicare dodged the bulk of the damage. Back over on the flank here, however, with the help of the Goliath truck here, we set up some crossfire on those Terminators with the autocannon, which turned into a couple of successful hits from my mining lasers here, taking out a couple of Terminators, which was pretty great. There wasn't much else happening in the shooting phase there, so I moved quickly into the assault phase. Pure Strain Genestealers rolled into the Terminator squad, butchering them to a man before retreating into the shadows to return to the table on a later turn. Oh, and I shouldn't forget, we did attempt one sneaky maneuver on the side of the board here to bring in a squad in the midfield, maybe put some pressure there. Unfortunately, a timely Auspex scan meant that the squad was immediately wiped by the Terminator squad there.
Okay, and how many points did you get that round?
I scored 1 point on Brood Swarm for controlling my deployment zone.
So currently the score is...
Currently the score is I have 3 points for Grind Them Down. He has 1 point in Brood Lord. I don't have anything for Stubborn Defiance. I don't have anything for Assassinate. You did not retrieve any Nachman data, and you did not do any psychic interrogations this turn.
Nope.
So currently it is 3-1.
Alright, going to Deathwing, turn 2.
And now we have the end of Deathwing, turn 2. We've had quite a bit of movement, so we'll start down over here where Sword Squad was. In the movement phase, the Apothecary moved up over here to help secure the objective. The Terminator Assault Squad jumped in and then was waiting for preparatory charge. Hammer Squad, nothing in their bolter range. They fired their frag missiles to eliminate the rest of the Genestealer squad. The Apothecary and Orbitus fired into the truck after the remainder of Sword Squad fired in and dealt it and left it down to 2, and they were able to finish it off, cleaning it up. The Vindicare Assassin was able to take out his Magos, and then the Calixus Assassin, the Calidus Assassin was able to jump in as her little polymorphine wore off, and she was nearly one-shot, but was able to hold on to dear life with 1 wound and enter into melee and bring down the sniper. I forget his name. And then we came into the combat phase, and the Aberrants retorted, taking down 1 Assault Terminator, and they lost 2 for their troubles.
What happened with the vehicle here?
The vehicle was slain by the characters with... No, it was slain by Sword Squad with the plasma cannon. It got 1 shot in, and he almost made the save, but it went. It did explode? Did not explode.
But two Aberrants died getting out.
But 2 Aberrants did die getting out, sitting over here. And that is an end of Deathwing turn 2.
Alright, here we go. Genestealer Cult, turn 2.
Alright, it's the end of Genestealer turn 2. So this was our big swing turn, or at least it was supposed to be. We brought in the majority of our forces, attempted some swingy charges here, and it didn't work out. So we'll go over the damage now, starting from this side of the board. So over here near his Apothecary on bike, I dropped in my 15-man squad of neophytes with a perfect ambush, which was going to give them a beefy upgrade to their shooting, and it did indeed net us 3 wounds off of that Apothecary. Unfortunately, his Feel No Pain roll saved him, and means he's going to be alive and well, probably zipping off somewhere safer, and in the meantime holding that objective for the next turn, which is no good. Over in the middle of the board, we had a lot of big drops. Both Acolyte squads came in, as well as the Biophagus, who beefed these guys up with a 5-up Feel No Pain, and were part of a concerted effort to try and maybe take over the middle of the board here. Unfortunately, only the Acolytes in the middle there made their charge. Did not amount to much. We did kill 1 Terminator off of the Thunderhammer and Storm Shield guys there, and lost 3 in return. But over here, the Rocksaw Acolytes unfortunately failed their charge against the squad on the objective over here, as well as the Patriarch and the Genestealers, who came back in. Unfortunately, suffered some serious Auspex scan shooting, which has been just an absolute banger of a move for the Marines so far. And both the Patriarch and the Genestealers failed their charges, which were admittedly sort of long bombs there. However, we did peel off 1 Marine over there with some shooting, so there was that.
What about the guys in the back here?
Oh yes, and we did sneak in some dudes at the back there to attempt to retrieve Nachman data, which, by the way, is now completing, so we could do some rolls for that real quick. Those guys automatically pass. They need a 6, and there is 6 because there are 6 models there, which I can't fail. Sorry, they need a 6 or less, which I can't fail. Back here, though, my Nexus was attempting to retrieve Nachman data, and I only get this one on a 1, so let's see if that happens. It doesn't. No big deal. So there's 1 tally for retrieved Nachman data.
Who was doing that? I can't see him.
He's hiding behind the corner here. My character back in there, he's just behind this building.
Okay.
So as far as secondaries go, unfortunately, I don't believe I outnumber you in the middle of the board, just because of how bad those Genestealer losses were. And you have a model inside my deployment zone, so I don't get Brood Swarm for that part either. So, well, actually, I take that back. I believe I do have the middle of the board for Brood Swarm, thanks to my 15-man over there still being pretty much entirely within the middle of the board. So that'll be 1 point for Brood Swarm. And I got 5 points on the primary this turn as well.
Alright, here we go. Deathwing, turn 3.
And with turn 3 of Deathwing done, let's look at the mayhem. So, scared the crap out of me. The Apothecary decided to run up to the assault squad. They brought back a lad. In the fight, he was laid low by the sledgehammer-wielding character there. The Calexis fired his little mortal wound generator and dealt 2 mortal wounds to this squad. Hammer Squad the Hammer Squad and the characters fired into these Acolytes.
Yep.
And the characters did about 4, and then the Hammer Squad finished off the rest of the squad. The Vindicare failed to take him down with mortal wounds. The Eversor...
When you say him, who do you mean him?
The character here, the Biophagus. Back here, the gentleman that fell was shot by the Eversor, who then 14-inch charged into the Icon Lord? The Icon Lord. And so you see this gentleman over here tipped over. My brain entirely skipped it, and my opponent, Chris, brought it up that, yeah, when the truck was killed, I had rolled 1s. entirely skipped my mind. And he's been dead for a long time. Yeah, he's been dead for a long time. So, yeah. And that is the way of it on turn 3. Going on to turn 3 of Genestealers.
Alright, so it is the end of Genestealer Cult turn 3. Tried to at least get some objective presence here to maybe swing the primary around a little bit, but let's take a look at the board and see where it got us. So over on this side, we have the Neophytes come up onto the objective by charging onto the Collexes there, but before doing that, they removed the Apothecary with some more overloaded fuel cell shots from the seismic cannons in there. So that went nicely, and we threw some attacks into the Collexes, figuring it wouldn't accomplish anything, which it didn't, but that's okay. We just got a lot of bodies on that objective there. Over here in combat, the Abominant swung back and removed another Terminator, only taking a wound back in return, which was nice. On this side, we did have the Eversor finish off my Eichenward and kind of pile back onto the objective, making sure I wouldn't be able to hold that one. Moving along over here, the Acolytes who were back in the corner retrieving Nachman data moved up, tossed some demolition charges into the Terminators there before they and the Patriarch and remaining Pure Strain charged into them and wiped them quite handily. So we did get some control on that objective there too. Yeah, we scored another point on Brood Swarm for the center of the board. Unfortunately, with these assassins playing around in our backfield, that's been keeping us from scoring more than a point of that basically the whole game, and we've really had very little presence in his backfield at all, and those 10 Terminators sitting back there have kept that out of reach as well. So that's all that we managed to score this time. We scored no primary at all, as at the beginning of the game we didn't hold a single objective. And yeah, that's the end of turn 3. So yeah, it being the end of turn 3, kind of assessing the state of the board and the armies. Mitch has just been miles ahead on me on the primary. He's been denying any pushes I've made onto most objectives, while his has been locked down pretty much up until this point where I finally managed to get some headway in the midboard, and it's just coming too late. On top of that, a good 80% of my army is gone at this point. I've really only got 2 scoring units available, and given the way his shooting has been going, much of which has remained unmolested, I fully expect his turn 4 will conclude with the remainder of my objective secured, being dead. Maybe I'll have a character or 2 left, but I figure we'll just pull that band-aid off and call it here at the end of turn 3. Good game, man.
Okay.
So how did you feel about the game?
Army performed as it was designed, but the Genestealers have... Were I playing any less army, let's say, as I play Firstborn only, so if I was just facing you with tac squads, I would not have performed nearly as well. I would have been... Because you can do damage in the psychic phase, the shooting phase, and the charge and fight phase, playing any other army or an army that does not have durability is not going to outlast your army. If I had any different list, if I had my orcs, maybe. But that's only on your psychic that I get the 5-up Field of Pain, because I play Death Skulls.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then, same with my AdMech. They have an invulnerable save, but they're squishier than everything that you bring. Like, any other one of my armies, I would have to be pulling out a large number of shenanigans.
Sure. No, Inner Circle, that transhuman across basically the whole army, that was definitely like so many times where I'm like, well, here's a gimmick in my army that I can't rely on because I can't wound you consistently. And oh my gosh, the Aberrance was just painful. Like, those guys lasted longer than I expected them to. Typically when their transport gets popped, they fold pretty quick. Typically, you can put a Feel No Pain upgrade on them from the Biophagist Doctor, and I've been trying skipping it just because of the upgrade I put on them, which lets me drop one of his upgrades on a unit beforehand, and it lets me pick it. And I was hoping, okay, let's put it on one of the Acolyte squads, because normally I have to roll for that one. And then when the game comes, starts, I bring the dock in to help out the aberrants, and it just has not worked out that way so far, because they get exposed, and they're not durable enough to survive everything that gets thrown at them without that feel no pain. But like I said, they did last longer this time than I expected, but they could not output any, they had no output, because every time I would make fantastic hit rolls, and then when the wound rolls would come up, it'd be a bunch of 2s and 3s, which would have normally wounded you handily.
Oh yes, Terminators are great. The standard Terminators are 5-up with a 5-up invuln, 2-up armor save,
Yep,
3 wounds.
Yep.
They're great. You give them inner circle.
Yep. They get so much better.
They get extremely chunky.
Yeah.
And now, the final turn against 2 beings in melee of Genestealers.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, well, I'm burning my command points for Auspex, because Genestealers are scary. The pure strains are scary. They get into melee.
Yep. I mean, we saw what happened with
the turn 1. They got
flank there. Yep. Just paved over.
And that's 15 wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's 15 wounds that are tougher to take from than a freaking Land Raider.
Yeah. And it was the same thing going on with the squad in the backfield. Like, I kept having to think, like, okay, can I bring things in the backfield? And the problem was, like, no, I can't, because if I do, they just get Auspex scanned. I mean, five Marines on either of your flanks was enough to threaten me on that. I made a couple of missteps with how I was bringing things in that suffered greatly just to simple Auspex scans and mass Stormbolter fire hitting.
Your use of terrain, though, has also been extremely good, and the terrain is also fantastic, and because the terrain, like, there's a lot of times it's like, if the drills weren't there, if the line of sight blocking wasn't there, Hammer Squad would have been flying out over, like, the truck probably would have gotten smacked with everything that Hammer Squad had.
Yeah.
And the fantastic terrain that we always get to play on here
This is a brilliant board.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, I would say, and I'm still, every game I've played with this new book so far, there's always been a couple of just fatal missteps with which this was true in the 8th edition codex when the army was severely underpowered when 9th kicked in, and it still feels true even with their 9th edition codex, where you really gotta maximize your use out of every unit, and things like the squad that I brought in on the flank, I was hoping to use to, get my brood swarm scoring up, and because I brought them in on the side where they were within 12 of the Terminator squad over there, you got instantly Auspex scan, which not only denied me the brood swarm point, also scored you on your grind them down, which I hadn't even thought about until it came to scoring. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, I just gave him another unit when it was a tie previously. If I maybe tried to bring them over on this side, you might have still Auspex scanned over there too, but it would have been with a 3-man squad instead. Plus, I knew I was going to pull my Genestealers out, so it would have been better to have a presence on the board on that side. I think that would have been the better move there.
It would have prevented the Lightning Claw squad from dropping in right there.
Exactly.
I'd have to drop back over here.
Yeah.
And then charge in.
And that's the other thing too, is like I said, all those piloting errors with this army basically, like it's been hard to get out of the habit of playing on the fly, like, seeing how something goes and then making a decision instead of going like, okay, I need to know how things are most likely going to go and plan for it. Then constantly find myself.
You have a lot of moving parts.
With crossfire tokens in particular, where I'm like, okay, I need to know where crossfire is, and I found myself putting it on a unit that ends up, okay, I didn't actually need it there, I needed it here to turn off Overwatch.
That
or
little guy hiding back there.
Him dropping those, he's
just
fantastic.
Those little.
Yep, the Nexus, just being able to do that wherever I please, it's fantastic. It's great for setting up the sniper fire. It's great for.
And that's why he got turn 2. Here's the Calidus Assassin.
Yep.
Because it's like, I can't shoot you outside of 12.
Yep. Yeah, he's a nuisance defensively. So far he hasn't been that great at assassinating, though. In my defense, or in his defense rather, I've been up against armies that have been really doubling down on the character protection that you had going on with the Terminator.
The bodyguards.
Yep. some sort of. I mentioned that I play against Ultramarines. I have played against Ultramarines, and he had brought the Victrix Honor Guard. And he was using those 2 models to protect Gilliman, an Apothecary, and I think one other character I can't recall.
I would like the chance to bop Gilliman, not
Yeah.
with this specific list, with my pure Terminator list.
Yeah.
Just thematically bop him.
It's satisfying. I've done it a number of times.
I killed him in 7th and 8th, but it's one of those to where it's like, we need more Primarchs.
Yeah, I think the best bop is when I get him off of something mundane, like, okay, I had to fight him down in combat, and then he stood back up, and then in came a bunch of scrap jets with drills, and they just moral wound him down. Run him over. It's a very comedic image.
Saddlegate taking down an
Oh,
Imperial
sure.
Knight,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
the long bomb, I'm going to hit you with a fork.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, this miracle of machinery just goes, and it explodes and dies because one grot just poked it.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing that was a struggle with this was picking secondaries. Like, I was looking through secondaries, and I had like some rough ideas, and then as I started to look at each one more closely, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't kill your army. So most of the attrition ones are out. Board control is not as easy as it seemed because you still have a lot of bodies in this list. You've got 40 plus Terminators.
32 in the 32 exact Terminators in this list.
But still, like, it's a low count to start, but up against a list like mine where, sure, I brought like twice as many bodies than you, but you were killing like 5 times as many bodies as I was killing yours. And you could bring yours back with a wave of it.
Yeah, and that's why running the Ravenwing Apothecary. So I made the misstep of leaving him back here.
Yeah.
I should have maneuvered him because I was going to charge.
Mm-hmm.
I should have maneuvered him in a way that he was over here.
Yeah.
Rather than, or I should have done something different with him and his positioning so that he didn't get caught out by that squad dropping in.
Yeah, as far as secondaries go, the wrench in that plan that I definitely didn't foresee is I was expecting my Magus was not going to have as much to do as he otherwise would. So I'm like, great, he'll just be doing the psychic interrogation. But you're assassins, man. Like, he could not survive for very long. I thought he was safe even turn 1, but you managed to find him and nearly popped him turn 1. And from that point on, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have him maximize what the rest of my army can do while he's still alive. Which wasn't for very long.
I got a lucky 6-inch advance, which got me right from deployment edge to the within 3 of that objective, and I had just moved them in a way to where it was like, I can see you, and I thought you were the can't shoot him within 12 was the guy on the bottom, not the one on the top.
Just the. Although, I mean, technically, like, I believe I could have, the way I had them positioned, maybe not. He was kind of still further forward. The jump in front of the bullet thing, which we only saw come into play once, which saved the Primus from the sniper fire. I don't think we brought that up on the turn summary, but the Primus very nearly dropped turn 1 from the Vindicare fire, but one of my neophytes took a bullet for the man.
Yeah.
But you can even do that with other characters. Like, it's a universal character protection that we have as Genestealer Cult, but I can have like my Sanctus jump in front of a bullet for my Magus if I want to. In that case, I don't think I could have, and I probably wouldn't have wanted to, but he had no other protection besides that wall.
A lot of people don't like I've seen a lot of lists with the Vindicare Assassin. Yeah. And people are like, oh, the Vindicare Assassin, and then there's a lot of people. Like I watch some of the competitive stuff, and I look at other channels that play him. They never he doesn't perform super well. Well, when you put him with the other 4 assassins, because people will be like, they focus on maneuvering away from the Vindicare so they don't get their characters sniped. You start throwing in the other assassins that are just a surprise, and it's what happened. The second that it's like, oh yeah, she's dropping in 5 inches away, I just saw your face kind of just drop. It's like, no. Yeah. And it's just like, boop.
At the very least, I'm glad I got that cheeky shot.
Oh,
I wasn't even sure I would get that. And the fact that I even survived the combat initially, or no, she wiped him, didn't she?
Yeah, you shot him, and then she came in on the charge, and then phase bladed him.
What I should have done, I completely forgot about it. I was so concerned about primary objective scoring, and I probably should have just gotten rid of her just so I didn't have to worry. But then again, you kind of forgot about her the rest of the game. Anyways,
yeah, she did her job.
I was planning on having my Primus go up there and boop her, and he probably could have gotten the job done.
I kept the Eversor in as long as I could because I know he has, at least he has a 3-inch charge in him, guaranteed, because he has 3 die 6.
You just reminded me of something embarrassing too.
Oh no! You have somebody that can charge out.
So you remember that? You remember that charge with the rock drills into the squad there? I should have been rolling that on 3d6. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade that I paid for. I forgot about. This army has so much stuff to keep track of, so I probably wouldn't have had to use the reroll on that one.
And you probably could have gotten another squad into them.
It's like I said, little things like that catch me up with this army now, just because there's so much stuff to keep track of. Not even like across the whole game, but from turn to turn.
Honestly, I play 3 different armies. Yeah. I play Admech, who is my most big brain managed list. I play my orcs, who's just like, we're gonna go have fun, throw the boys at it, and then my Deathwing. I'm sorry, I could take somebody who knows absolutely nothing. And just sit here casually, give them the basics of the game, give them the codex, and be like,
they can play it pretty well,
and they'll be able to play it very easily because it doesn't. It has its moving parts, but it doesn't have what you have. I have a simple gear to gear, and that's it. You have like a German engineered watch that has micro gears and the micro gears that you have to layer on. And it's just, I'm sitting here like, what is this?
Well, that's what I said. Is that watching you play it now, I'm just starting to think, wow, maybe this is too complicated of an army for me.
I mean, it's like when I managed to get all those gears to interlock and click, it's so much fun to be like, yep, I just planned that out perfectly. But so far, like half the time, I just make a mistake, and it's like, well, great. There's a unit that's probably not going to live to the next turn and missed its shot to maximize impact.
You'd mentioned kind of preempting things rather than reacting. And I'm just spitballing it as an idea because I don't know. Would it maybe help if you didn't put down the tokens at the beginning and actually dropped a few units to make him put units in certain spots on the table?
That's a possibility too. There's actually a couple of units that it can be advantageous to do that with as well, because the Jackals, the biker guys, and the Ridge Runners, which I don't have any of, but they do the same thing. They have a pre-game scout move, but they only get to use it if they're actually deployed properly on the table, because they're not. It's a pre-game move, and so I could have done something like, okay, make one side seem like I'm leaning heavily on it by having the Jackals actually visible on the board there, and then when I see that you've kind of maybe tried to get in range with bolters for turn 1 for there, I just zip them back 9 inches out of range.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering, maybe doing something like that.
Yeah.
With how this army plays, it's like when we have an objective like just they're there in front, my deployment is fairly simple. I slap Hammer Squad down on the one that's either closest to or in my deployment zone. They're going to sit there all game. They're by far my most reliable unit.
Right. And speaking of which, I believe we never actually gave an official end tally for points.
Yeah.
Mine was pretty low. I know I only managed to score 4 on knockback data because I got the bare minimum of 2 activations.
I got 4 assassinates, so that's 3 points apiece, so that's 12.
Yeah.
Stubborn Defiance, turn 3 hadn't come around yet, so I couldn't get the other 5, turn 3 happened, so I got my 5 points for there, because turn 2, I get 2, turn 3, we were on turn 3.
Yep.
Pencil that I have over there? Turn 2, I get 2, and then I get 3 for that.
Turn 3.
At turn 3, and then turn 4, I get 5.
Okay, so it was 5 at the time, but you would have scored another 5 on turn 4.
On turn 4, I would have scored another 5. Assassinate, I had 4, because I had just finished that, because I had gotten the sniper, one of your other characters had his head blown off. Another one? No. Did I only kill 3? How many of your characters are dead over there?
You killed the Iconward here, you killed the Magus and the Sanctus, and the Primus, so yeah. 4 characters.
So 4 characters.
I had
12.
2 characters left, or sorry, 3 characters. That's not right. I had 8 characters in total. Where's my other? Oh, right, the dude hiding in the back corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had 5 characters, 4 characters still out.
And then 3 for the first turn, 3 for the second turn, and 3 for the third turn.
Yeah, I don't think there was a single
For grinding
turn where I
down.
stopped you from, or single
Yeah,
battle
so
round
I
where I
had-
stopped you from scoring back
So I
them
had
down. So.
9 from grind them down, 5 from stubborn defiance, and then I had 5 in the beginning because I didn't have all of them for the first turn.
You don't score first turn.
Yeah,
for that.
first turn.
You
That's
scored
all-
15 and
15, so I had 30, so. $56.
I think you might have miscounted
I-
that because I should have only gotten 5 on the primary.
No, turn 2 you still had,
I had this objective,
yes. And you only have to control 1.
yes, and that's 5 points. But
Yes,
but
so
turn 3, you'd stopped me from scoring that. You had your assassin up in my business by then. Unless we wanted to treat this concession as turn 5 and scored me the primaries
Yeah.
as I was at the end, in which case I've got 10 because I controlled 2, but that it makes really no
Yeah.
significant difference. You were still double me on the
So
primaries.
15.
I only had 4 points from.
How much do you get for enactment?
So if you do it twice, that's the bare minimum to get on the board and start
Uh-huh.
scoring, which is 4. And then if you go up to 3, I think it goes to 8, and then if you have it 4 times, it's 12.
Okay.
And then Broodswarm, I consistently only scored 1 point on that every turn.
And that's, you get points per, or just,
It's points per, so 3 sections of the board: my deployment, middle of the board, your deployment, and if I outnumber you in each of those, I get 1 point per, and if I have all 3, I get a 4th point.
okay, so
But each
guard is
time-
the antithesis of you then. Because guard would keep you out of the,
Yeah,
okay.
well, they try to.
Yeah. So that would be,
I'm more confident in being able to kill guard out of their employment zone than I am in killing Deathwing Terminator blocks out of theirs.
well, it's 30 wounds just sitting there like
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
So
So
total
even if we give me
56
the
to 19, and then full painted is 29 to 66.
Sure. Yeah.
Jumping from the future here, we did realize we made a mistake with our last battle report with Genestealer Cult versus Deathwing. We were using the new Nachmund 2022 mission types, and forgot that the primary scoring has changed from 5-point intervals to 4-point intervals. So end point tallies were off by a few points because of that, I'm sure, but yeah, just realized we made that mistake.
So yeah, and that's been in line with how my games have gone so far, just because this learning curve is so steep, and I've been making some mistakes. But you can see the power in it. I mean,
Oh
absolutely.
yes, I can see the pop. If everything like clicks and comes, you wouldn't need a squad of 10 pure
Yeah.
strains.
I feel like, as far as the army that I run goes, which is obviously a more melee focused army, obviously it's nice to have the little bits of shooting sprinkled in there, but I feel like I need to shift the neophyte component of my army over to more of an objective focused type of a thing. So these guys are probably fine as they are. It's nice to have
Yeah.
that big brick of 15 that I can drop and be like, hey, I've got advantage in body weight here now.
Yep.
But like these other little guys that I've got the 10-man squads of, maybe take out some of their heavy weapons so I can move them around a little more freely, not get so caught up in the idea of them shooting, and more about like, I need you in this table quarter doing this, on this objective doing this.
The with the Nachman data, it's one of those to where this army makes it very easy for me to play to the mission.
Yeah.
And because it's so simple, I think you have a lot of moving parts. You simplify. You have a shit ton of moving parts. You have at least triple the moving parts I have in my army. And if you make it simpler on yourself of, we're going to go objective hunting today.
Yep.
Does my army make it easy to objective hunt? No. But I'm sure somebody's brought a worse list to a tournament somewhere.
Sure. It's actually really simple, similar to a list I remember seeing on Goonhammer, if you read them at all.
No, I haven't had the chance to.
They're just it's basically a editorial Warhammer general gaming really these days, but they used to specialize in Warhammer. But there's a guy who's basically selling mint. He's like, yeah, I'm not really a competitive player, but I still like to go to competitive events, and he runs into that same problem of like just the brain tax, especially in a tournament setting of playing game after game, of losing track of what he should be focusing on with his army in each game, and his way of counteracting that was to build the most simple list he could think of with the least amount of moving parts. And yeah, he basically had a Deathwing Terminator list. It was focused on lots of durable bodies that he could just be like, okay, I know I need to survive and sit on the main objectives, control the center of the board. That's easy. I can do that every game consistently.
And I think I'll just keep this guy in the list because I have another list already prepped with just one Terminator taken out for him.
Yeah.
Removing the...
he was useful for sure.
Removing the Ancient from my previous list that you guys have seen.
Yeah.
I run...
I mean...
Ancient does well.
I hate Ancients. I feel like in this list he doesn't capitalize because he needs your dudes to die and your army is designed not to die.
And it's one of those where the turn that he did, well, I had him on the board and I brought him forward and he did do work, but the Ravenwing Apothecary being my souped up chief apothecary is vastly more versatile point to the army.
Absolutely.
Zoomy 20 inches. Okay, he's got a 4 up in.
He can just kind of he can, like, you had your wings in your center point, and he could just go wherever he needed to go quick enough because the rest of your army can't.
No, they've got 5-inch moves, so I've got to advance. And it's like, hey, I got 3 inches on my advance for Hammer Squad and Orbitus and the Apothecary over there.
Yeah.
They all got 8 inches the first turn. I'm like, that's great. They got 12 inches. I got 11 inches of movement. Holy sh**. It's the fastest I've ever seen them move them stunted legs.
But this was a lot of fun. Absolutely. It's just an absolute pleasure to play on a board this nice, especially one that's themed to my army. That's a first. I don't know that I've ever gotten to enjoy that. Obviously, you play on plenty of generic Imperial stuff, and I do have an Admech army of my own, so there's that. But like, I've never seen an orc table before, and this is sweet. Seeing all the Genestealer Cult banners and statues.
Well, Chad goes above and beyond for his tables and the stuff that shows up on the channel.
Yeah.
He cares a great deal and puts a great amount of effort and time into it, and he tries to find interesting matchups and never have fought before, because you're the first Genestealer player to play upon this vaunted table. He made all of this just for you.
I feel very special. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And if you
It was
want
fun.
something like this for your store, for yourselves, you know how to get a hold of Chad. Get a hold of Chad. He'll make you quality items for your table.
Yep, shoot us a message over on Facebook. I do terrain and any sort of custom stuff that you need. But as far as this game goes, it was a good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, join the horde, and we will see you in the next one.